When Edgar Cayce was asked by a 50-year-old man in 1934 how to regain his vitality and stop the rapid deterioration of his vision and hearing, the answer he gave was shocking in its simplicity. He did not prescribe a rare herb from the Amazon. He did not suggest a complex surgical procedure. He did not even recommend a rigorous gym routine. He described a simple, specific set of movements for the head and neck. He promised that if this specific protocol was followed diligently, morning and evening, the body would create what he called equalized circulation, and the entity would, in his own words, never grow old in their sensory perception. Think about that promise for a moment. Never grow old. In our modern world, we associate anti-aging with external fixes, creams, injections, surgeries, and dyes. We treat the symptoms of aging as they appear on the surface. But Cayce, looking with the eyes of a medical clairvoyant, saw aging differently. He saw aging not as a function of time, but as a function of stagnation. He taught that the body was designed to be a self-regenerating battery, but that this battery fails when the flow of energy, both blood and nerve impulse, gets blocked at the critical junctions. And the most critical, most vulnerable junction in the entire human architecture is the neck. Today, we are going to learn the Fountain of Youth exercise exactly as it was given in the readings. We are going to deconstruct the biological and spiritual mechanics of why it works, exploring how a few minutes of specific movement can flush the brain with fresh blood, drain the toxic waste from your sensory organs, and literally wake up the glands that control your youth hormones. This is not just a stretch. This is a recalibration of your life force. To understand the power of this exercise, you must visualize the neck as Cayce did. He often referred to the neck as the isthmus. In geography, an isthmus is a narrow strip of land connecting two larger landmasses. In your body, the neck connects the generator of the body, the torso where digestion and metabolism occur, with the temple of the body, the head, where consciousness and sensory perception live. All the power generated by your food, your breath, and your heart must pass through this narrow 4-inch channel to reach the brain. Now consider the modern lifestyle. We spend hours hunched over phones, staring at screens, and driving cars. We lock our necks into a rigid, forward-slumped position. Biologically, this is a disaster. It compresses the cervical vertebrae, creating a physical blockade. It creates tension in the suboccipital muscles, which chokes the vertebral arteries. It restricts the jugular veins, preventing waste blood from draining out of the brain. When fresh blood can't get in, and toxic blood can't get out, the brain begins to starve and suffocate simultaneously. The eyes dim because they aren't getting nutrients. The ears ring because the nerves are inflamed. The skin grays because the hormonal signals from the pituitary gland are muffled. This is what we call aging, but Cayce called it a lack of equalized circulation. The exercise he gave is designed to manually break this blockade. It acts as a mechanical pump, forcing the dross, his term for toxic accumulation, out of the tissues and inviting the life force back in. Let's walk through the protocol. This is meant to be done seated with your spine erect. Cayce was adamant about the spine being straight because the cerebrospinal fluid must flow without obstruction. You can do this in your chair right now. The first movement is the forward press. You are to slowly, deliberately lower your chin to your chest, but do not just let it drop. Press it gently. You are looking for a sensation of pull along the back of the neck and down into the space between the shoulder blades. In this moment, you are physically stretching the spinal cord and opening the spaces between the vertebrae where the nerves exit to the eyes and ears. Hold this for a count of 3. Imagine you are squeezing a sponge, wringing out the old, stale blood. The second movement is the backward drop. Slowly lift your head and let it drop all the way back. Open your mouth slightly. Do not clench your jaw. Let the throat be completely exposed. This is crucial for the thyroid gland. As we discussed in previous videos, the thyroid is the gateway of the will and the master of metabolism. By stretching the neck back, you are stretching the fascia around the thyroid, breaking up calcification and stimulating the gland to release hormones. You are literally opening the throat chakra. Hold for a count of 3. The third movement is the side tilt. Drop your right ear toward your right shoulder. Do not lift the shoulder to meet the ear. Keep the shoulders heavy and low. Feel the stretch on the left side of the neck. This targets the vagus nerve and the carotid arteries. You are opening the highway for oxygen to reach the brain. Then slowly move to the left side, left ear to left shoulder. Balance the equation. Cayce spoke often of the positive and negative forces in the body. Balancing the left and right sides equilibrates the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. The fourth movement is the most important and often the most neglected, the rotation. Cayce instructed to roll the head in a complete circle. Roll it to the right 3 times, and then to the left 3 times. Do this slowly. As you roll your head, you will likely hear grinding, clicking, or crunching sounds. In medicine, we call this crepitus. It sounds scary, like gravel grinding in your neck. But Cayce said this was the sound of the dross breaking up. It is the sound of crystallization dissolving. Do not be afraid of the noise unless there is sharp pain. That sound is the sound of the prison bars breaking. As you rotate, imagine you are a mortar and pestle, grinding away the stiffness of the years. Why did Cayce say this would save the vision and hearing? Because the nerves that supply the eyes and ears originate in the upper cervical spine and the brainstem. When you perform this routine, you are taking physical pressure off the optic nerve and the auditory nerves. You are allowing the impulses from the brain to reach the organs clearly. There are thousands of testimonials in the Cayce archives of people improving their eyesight, clearing up tinnitus, and stopping migraines simply by religiously performing this head and neck routine. But there is a deeper, more esoteric layer to this practice that turns it from a stretch into a fountain of youth. It has to do with the flow of cerebrospinal fluid, CSF. Cayce taught that this fluid is not just a shock absorber, it is the carrier of the spirit energy. It rises from the base of the spine up to the brain, where it activates the pituitary and pineal glands. These 2 glands, the master gland and the third eye, are the regulators of aging. The pituitary secretes the hormones that tell the body to repair itself. When the neck is stiff, the flow of this magical fluid is impeded. The glands go to sleep. The body stops repairing. We wither. By doing these movements, specifically the rotation, you are acting as a pump for the CSF. You are driving this nutrient-rich, spiritually charged fluid up into the ventricles of the brain, bathing the pineal and pituitary in the fuel they need to keep you young. This is why people report a feeling of euphoria or clarity immediately after doing these exercises. You have just watered the garden of the brain. Consistency is the key. Cayce did not say, do this when your neck hurts. He said, do this of a morning and of an evening. It must be a ritual. In the morning, you do it to break the stiffness of sleep and charge the brain for the day. In the evening, you do it to discharge the tension of the day and prepare the brain for the deep work of sleep. It takes less than 3 minutes. Everyone has 3 minutes. The question is, do you have the discipline? Let's address the sensation of lightness that often follows. When you restore circulation to the head, you are also clearing brain fog. The stagnant blood that sits in the brain creates a buildup of metabolic waste products, like beta-amyloid proteins. By opening the jugular veins through these stretches, you are flushing the toilet of the brain. You are allowing the waste to drain down into the rest of the body where it can be eliminated. This physical clarity translates to spiritual clarity. It is hard to be intuitive. It is hard to be connected to your higher self when your physical brain is swimming in its own exhaust fumes. For those of you sitting there thinking, I am too old, my neck is fused, I can't do this, Cayce had a gentle rebuke. He said, start where you are. If you can only move an inch, move an inch. The intention to move sends the signal to the body. Over time, the range of motion will return. The body is forgiving. It wants to heal. It just needs you to stop blocking it. He also recommended pairing this exercise with the consumption of the mummy food, which we now know as a specific preparation of figs and dates, or simply keeping the body alkaline with almonds and greens to provide the raw materials for rebuilding the tissues. But the movement is primary. You cannot eat your way out of a structural blockade. You must move. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to have the neck of a 20-year-old again. To look over your shoulder while driving without turning your whole torso. To wake up without a headache. To see clearly without squinting. To feel a steady, vibrant hum of energy in your head instead of a dull throb. This is not a fantasy. This is biology waiting to be activated. The fountain of youth is not a mythical spring in Florida. It is the blood coursing through your own arteries. It is the impulse firing down your own nerves. It is the spirit moving through your own spine. But you have to open the gate. You have to clear the isthmus. So here is your challenge. For the next 7 days, commit to the Cayce protocol. Morning and night. 3 repetitions of each movement. Forward, back, right, left. Rotate right, rotate left. Do it with the reverence of a prayer. Visualize the light entering your brain. Visualize the years melting away with the tension. Do not accept stiffness as the inevitable price of aging. Stiffness is a choice. Fluidity is your birthright. Edgar Cayce gave us the map to reclaim it 80 years ago. It is time for us to walk the path. If you are ready to take this further, if you want to know how to use the violet ray, a high-frequency device Cayce recommended to stimulate the nerves of the scalp and face for further rejuvenation, make sure you are subscribed. We are going to cover the lost technology of the readings in our next deep dive. But for now, sit up straight, drop your shoulders, and let the flow return.